Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Nurse Kenneth. It's my pleasure to meet you all once again. So on today's video, I'll be talking about nurses actually. So it's just like a bit of an advice on what to do when you get into trouble, how to protect your pin here in the UK, and then I'm going to be sharing a sad story of 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 a colleague who lost his pin here in the UK, and the employer, I would rather say the sponsor, withdrew their sponsorship and sent the person back to his home country. It was actually a bitter experience actually. So on today's video we'll be talking about that, and then I'm going to be advising young nurses who are already working here in the UK, who recently migrated to the UK, and those who are aspiring to be in the UK in no distant time. So once again, I welcome you to my channel. So talking about the sad experience of a distant, will I say a distant colleague. So it actually happened in one particular trust, which I prefer to keep anonymous for now, and also the details of the person anonymous as well. So please pardon me. So it happens that this young man who is he works basically in a medical unit went for a bank shift. We all know what I mean by bank shift. He went for an extra shift in a emergency department, A&E to be precise, and then he had an elderly patient who had swallowing difficulty. So when the young man resumed, and then I'm not sure if he did proper what will I say, proper assessment, like if he read all the patient documentation and information related to the patient. I'm not sure about that, but this young man was supposed to give another medication to this patient. So on attempt to give this medication to this patient, the patient wife now told the nurse, please, young man, my husband can't swallow that medication. So the young man was insisting, oh, let me just give, I will crush and give. At the end of the day, this young man, this young nurse, is a male nurse to be precise, actually ended up crushing this medication and gave it to this patient, and the patient had aspiration and died the next day. Sadly, the patient died the next day, and the family took the hospital and this young man to coroner court. So after the deliberation in the coroner court and everything, the woman ended up saying that there was no point coming to coroner court, that it's obvious that the young nurse practically killed her husband. She said it out of bitter and everything, in anger, frustration and all. So at the end of the day, there was nothing the trust could do. There was nothing Royal College of Nursing could do for this young man, because this young man, I won't say he did it out of ignorance, but I would say I don't know what came over him, and he ended up doing that. And then that was how he lost his pin, his license to practice, and he was sent back to his home country after all said and done. So that's how sad it is. So basically, I'm making this video to give a bit of advice on this scenario that happened now. I believe most of us who migrated from Africa and some other Asian countries, I don't know, but the more you practice, the more you travel, the more you get exposed to a lot of things. I'm sure a numerous number of us does not know about diet modification when you have to do with, if a patient who has a swallowing difficulty, there are different levels of fluid and feed and meals the patient should eat. So let's say a patient has swallowing difficulties, and the patient has been assessed by the SALT team, that is language and speech therapist, and they've done their own assessment on this patient. The patient would either go for level 3 fluid or level 4 fluid, which is maybe like you have to put thickener to make it thick, or viscous or something, make it more thick so that it doesn't aspirate, or mild thickness. Then the diet must be pureed or soft moist diet, depending on the level they places this patient on. So I feel like most of us, before arriving to this country, did not really know about this. Just assume that, oh, you can easily give water the way it is to a patient. The patient has swallowing difficulty, so we don't give anything, we don't place him, we now end up placing him on nothing by mouth and all. So I know a lot of people had this whole teaching and also idea and all. So but here a lot of things is a lot of things are different. I'm not saying they are quite different, but you should understand firstly, as a nurse, you should know some basic things that your patient or the patient that is under your care, you should know some 4 basic things. What will I say 4 basic things? One, I used to call them 4 little things that matters, because it's quite little. So firstly, you are, let's say you go for a bank shift, or you're working in A&E and you're getting patient directly from maybe from the ambulance or no. Firstly, you have to know this patient's uh, vitals. Is ABC okay? Is the airway patent? Is the breathing okay? Is circulation okay? These are the things that you need. The first thing you need to come to your mind. Then second thing that comes to your mind is, okay, this patient, how is this patient's mobility? Can this patient stand? Is this patient at risk of fall? All those things are the things that you need to know. Then another thing is the patient's skin integrity. Is the patient having bed sore? Is the patient prone to have a bed sore? Is the patient having blanching? Just all these things. Then you want to give, you're getting a patient you don't know about, you want to give something orally. Let's say an elderly, maybe that's from 80 years downward, or an elderly patient from care home who has dementia, who doesn't even know if he eats orally or not. So how do you get to know all these things? It's by making your findings. Ask questions. Ask questions. A lot of this silly mistake can be averted when you ask questions. But if you don't ask questions, if you don't do all these things, at the end of the day, it will get into trouble. So I used to call them 4 little things that matter. This thing: diet, mobility, skin integrity, and the patient's airway, the patient's level of consciousness. All these things matters. So assuming this guy was able to understand that this young man is at severe risk of aspiration and he needs his tablet to be crushed. After crushing, you add water and add thickener to make it thick so that it can easily pass through the patient throat. He wouldn't get himself into this trouble. But I don't know. But that's just that. So, and again, there's been like a circulating news about nurses working in the care home, how they are having issues. Some have lost their pain and some are in the verge of losing their pain. This is very simple. I've come to understand that a lot of us in the care home have challenged with poor staffing level, which is very sad actually to talk about. It's very sad to talk about that. But I feel like if you're struggling, wherever you're working and you're struggling, you should be able to speak up. You should be able to take necessary steps, because you have people who are entrusted to your care. You are accountable to whatever that happens to this patient. You are accountable, and you should understand that you have a lot of work to do. It's not about giving the medication. Let's say you're in a care home and you have like 20 residents assigned to you. It's not about just giving them, dishing out the medication. Remember, you have like, okay, let's say you have like, out of that 20, you have like 15 dementia patients to take care of. Imagine the workload that is required of you. Imagine that you have to keep your eyes on these 20 patients, majority of them who are at risk of fall. And the moment you know what happens when the patient falls, patient can fall and bang the head. From there, you will develop trauma, brain trauma or something. So there's a lot. So I feel like if you're struggling, speak up, escalate this, not to get yourself into trouble. You try and escalate. Remember that you have a pin to protect you. Remember that you have a license to protect. So I'm making this video basically to just give a bit of an advice. For you young nurse who is in care home, you're struggling, firstly, I would urge you, please try and escalate. If you know that is becoming overwhelming for you, stand up and make a move. Then another thing again is that I would advise you, you are in the care home, you are in the NHS, wherever you are, please try and register under the Royal College of Nursing. I won't advise you not to register under Unison, because there's Unison and there's Royal College of Nursing. For my Nigerian brothers and sisters, Unison is just like Joheso in Nigeria. So it has other healthcare workers, professionals underneath it. But Royal College of Nursing has to do with just strictly nurses. And they are there to stand for you. They are there to fight for you. Okay? So if you're in the care home, ensure that you are under Royal College of Nursing. Make sure you are paying your dues, you are keeping up to date. Should in case if anything happens, they can easily come in and stand for you. But if you're not a member, there's nobody to stand for you. Then another advice I have for nurses who are in A&E, maybe you are new in the A&E, or maybe you are in a place where you get patients come directly to you as a nurse. I would advise you to please try and inculcate the 4 things that I said. I used to call them 4 little things that matter. Please, if you're getting a patient from care home, let's say you are in A&E and patient comes in from care home to you, maybe patient that had 4 comes in from care home to you. So you should always bear in mind that this patient always comes with a file. So that file there gives you a picture of what the patient it's like a patient details. It's like an X-bar that the care home nurses are giving you as a nurse. Okay, so you're expected to go through that booklet. It gives you a picture of what the patient details, everything about the patient, the disease condition, the mobility, the diet, the medication. And most of them also comes with, in fact, not most of them, those who do not resuscitate document, DNR document, it always comes with it. So you should be able to know, oh, is the patient for full escalation, is it for full resuscitation, or do not attempt CPR. You get to know all those things from that booklet. So these are like basic things that you expected to do so that you don't get into trouble. Then, like I say, if you're struggling wherever you are, please try and escalate. You've got poor staffing levels, speak to your manager, speak to those in charge. Don't do it alone. And again, know your scope. Know your scope of practice. Do not go above that. Okay? And lastly, please do well to join Royal College of Nursing. If not, these guys are willing to help. They are willing to assist you when things goes haywire. So that is all I've got for you. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, like. Thank you all. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.